Hello, I'm Raymond Go, and Nightline begins now. The top stories. Zamri says round-the-clock operation to bring Malaysians home safely. And 6, including baby, killed in two-vehicle crash. Good morning. The process of bringing Malaysians out of Sudan has entered a critical phase. Dr. Sri Zamri Abdul Qadir also said that efforts to bring them out of the war zone in Khartoum have already been done. Nightline spoke to the foreign minister a while ago, and here's his update to TV3 on the situation.
I wish to inform that efforts to evacuate Malaysians in Sudan are being carried out from the conflict zone in Khartoum. The battle between the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, and the paramilitary forces, Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, is still ongoing and has entered its 10 days. In order to ensure the safety of Malaysians and for this operation to succeed, I cannot reveal the details of the evacuation plan. But I can confirm that 30 Malaysians, together with 26 other foreign nationals in our convoy, have arrived in an undisclosed location, waiting for the next course of action. They have gone through a long journey from Khartoum, and they remain healthy and in good spirit. The next phase is to evacuate them out of Sudan. And I call on Malaysians to pray for us to carry out this complex mission successfully and to bring them home safe and sound to be with their families in Malaysia. Thank you.
Previously, Dr. Sri Zamri said Malaysia had contacted Sudan's highest administration to request permission to fly over and land in the country. It follows the action of the Sudanese Civil Aviation Authority to extend the closure of the country's airspace until April 30th. Based on data from the World Health Organization, WHO, the death toll from the unrest in Sudan so far has increased to more than 400 people, while another 3,500 are injured. The armed conflict broke out 2 weeks ago between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF. Meanwhile, foreign nations pushed on Monday with frantic evacuations of their citizens from chaos-torn Sudan, where heavy fighting raged for the 10th day between forces loyal to two rival generals. Officials said the United States and multiple European, Middle Eastern, African and Asian nations have launched emergency missions to bring to safety their embassy staff and Sudan-based citizens by road, air and sea. With Khartoum International Airport disabled after battles that left charred airplanes on the runways, many foreigners were airlifted out from smaller airstrips, many to nearby Djibouti. As army and paramilitary forces again clashed in Khartoum and across the country, terrified Sudanese have endured acute shortages of water, food, medicines and fuel, as well as power and internet blackouts. Many Sudanese civilians are also fleeing areas affected by the fighting, including to Chad, Egypt and South Sudan. Six individuals, including a baby, were killed in a crash involving two cars on Jalan Jerangau, Jabo in Kemaman on Monday afternoon. The deceased, who was the driver of the car, was identified as 61-year-old Tuan Ya Dola, Nor Nadia Natasha Abu Bakar, 22 years old, and the 2-year-old girl Nor Shafina Saiful Azwan, who died at the scene of the accident. Two other victims, whose identities have yet to be released, died at Kemaman Hospital while receiving treatment. Two other individuals from the same vehicle were injured and are being treated at the same hospital. Their car was travelling from Bukit Besi Dungun to Bandar Baru Cheneh, Kemaman. A passenger of the other car, 51-year-old identified as Abdul Halim, also was killed in the 4:45 p.m. collision. His car was travelling from Parasing near Jabor to Batu Rakit, Kuala Nerus. 3 passengers, including a child and the driver of the vehicle, were also injured. They are being treated at the same hospital. In Perak, a woman died while her 2-year-old child was thrown out of the car in a 2-vehicle collision at kilometre 291.3 of the North-South Highway heading south near the Perak Rural Transformation Centre RTC. In the 8:10 a.m. incident, the victim, Nur Fadilah Ismail, 34, died at the scene after the car driven by her husband rolled over. Their child was thrown out of the vehicle during the incident but did not sustain any injuries. Kampar District Police Chief Superintendent Muhammad Nazri Daud said early investigations found the car with a family of 3 was rear-ended by another car. The child was sitting with his mother at the passenger's side, which caused him to be flung out of the car after the collision. The child was brought to the hospital for a further checkup, but no serious injuries were reported. The woman's 36-year-old husband did not suffer any injuries. The driver of the other car and 3 other passengers aged between 20 and 22 were also reported to be safe. The victim's body was sent to Kampar Hospital for an autopsy. Further investigations were being carried out under Section 41, Subsection 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987. The Health Ministry has reported 6 more cases of COVID-19 XBB 1.16, or the Arcturus variant, bringing its total number of reported cases to 12. Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa said of the new cases reported, 4 were detected in Selangor and 2 in Kuala Lumpur. The minister in a statement, however, said patients infected by the strain, which is a subvariant of Omicron, only suffered mild symptoms and were in stable condition. She said the global risk assessment reported the infection risk and case severity caused by Arcturus variant to be lower than any other subvariants as previously reported. Dr. Zaliha said even though Malaysia has detected Arcturus variant since March, COVID-19 infections are still under control and does not burden the health services capacity at hospitals and clinics. Deputy Sarawak Premier Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian had also previously reported the first 6 cases of the variant detected in the state. Omicron remains the only variant present at the moment. Hence, the ministry is reminding the public to continue practicing TRIS, which is test, report, isolate, inform and seek if they experience any symptoms. She reminded those who tested positive for COVID-19 to self-isolate immediately, and individuals in the high-risk groups such as senior citizens and children were encouraged to wear masks in crowded and confined public places. 7 areas in the peninsula are in the warning category of hot weather. The warning came after the affected areas recorded maximum temperatures of between 35 and 37 degrees Celsius. According to the Malaysian Meteorological Department, the areas in the warning level 1, which is caution category, are Kuala Terengganu in Terengganu, Jeli, Kuala Krai, Pasir Mas, Tanah Merah in Kelantan, Rompin in Pahang and Jempol in Negeri Sembilan. As the heat wave is linked to hazy conditions, the people have been asked to take extra precautions by drinking at least 8 glasses of water daily to stay cool and hydrated. Meanwhile, the Negeri Sembilan Health Department has advised the public to take extra precautions, with its director, Dr. Harlina Abdul Rashid, saying they should limit outdoor and extreme physical activities during the hot and hazy weather, and wear suitable face masks or use umbrellas and hats to avoid direct exposure to the sun. She said scorching weather can lead to frequent sweating, causing the individual to feel tired and lethargic, and increasing the risk for dehydration and heat stroke. She also said that those who are unwell should seek immediate treatment at the nearest health facility. The public may visit the Health Ministry's official website to obtain tips to reduce the impact of hot weather and haze on their health. Bursa Malaysia, which opens on Tuesday after the Aidilfitri break, is expected to remain in defensive mode until the US Federal Open Market Committee meeting in May. According to Bank Muamalat's chief economist and social finance, Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid, the general market sentiment would revolve around the external event.
Issues surrounding the US interest rates are expected to take center stage as the meeting date of the Federal Open Market Committee draws nearer. The FOMC meeting will be held on the 2nd and 3rd May, with markets are expecting another 25 basis point hike is quite likely. In that sense, the first quarter US GDP data points, which will be released on the 27th April, will be the key driver for next week. Consensus estimates show that the US economy is expected to moderate to 2% growth, after rising 2.6% in the preceding quarter. On that note, the FPM KLCI is expected to trade within the range of 1,415 points to 1,425 points next week, as holiday shortened week following Hari Raya celebrations may have also contributed to the possible listless trade in the near term. Similarly, the dollar ringgit could range between 4 ringgit and 43 cents to 4 ringgit and 44 cents per US dollar, as market would expect the US Fed will remain hawkish in the near term.
In Negeri Sembilan, the dream of 30-year-old R. Kalaivani to get married to her fiancé J. Satiswaran, aged 29 in November, was not fulfilled after she drowned with her two younger sisters at Pantai Cahaya, Port Dickson on Sunday. Kalaivani's cousin R. Tamanti said Kalaivani had also made preparations to hold her pre-wedding ceremony. On Sunday, Kalaivani and her two siblings, R. Dawiga, 29, and R. Sati Yadevi, 19, perished in the drowning incident, while Satiswaran and Kalaivani's sibling R. Viran, aged 29, were rescued. Tamanti said that the victim and Satiswaran had been engaged for 8 years and had been saving up for their wedding. She also pointed out that the victim and her fiancé lived in Taiping, Perak, and had returned on Saturday to be with Kalaivani's family in Banting, Selangor for the Hari Raya weekend, which then led to the tragedy. The rescued victims were sent to the Port Dickson hospital. The bodies of the three victims were found about 50 meters from the beach. At the time of the incident, it was high tide and the sea was choppy. And speaking to TV3 on Monday night, Satiswaran's cousin Prabhakaran Ravi said that their families were actually in the midst of picking the date for the wedding.
Basically, diorang tengah dalam perbincangan untuk buat engagement punya pengacaraan. Cumanya diorang dalam perbualan antara family ni dengan family bahagian ni dengan perempuan lah. So dalam perbincangan untuk nak aturkan dia punya engagement kiranya. So diorang tak confirm lagi date bulan 11 tu, diorang nak buat perbincangan.
Meanwhile, Kalaivani's fiancé relayed to us the events which led to the drowning incident.
Kita orang jalan-jalan saja. Tapi tengok ada orang jalan, air ada mandi, kita orang pun nak turun jalan-jalan lah. Kita orang pun tak tahu air macam mana mari. Kita orang mandi, tiba-tiba air mari. Tiba-tiba air mari, satu kali hantar, 3 orang sudah hilang. Satu orang saya ambil balik. Saya pun tak tahu air tu macam mana mari. Banyak kuat tu air.
After this breather, death toll from suspected starvation cult reaches 58. Details when Nightline returns. to the foreign front now. Kenyan police on Sunday found the bodies of another 29 suspected cult members in the east of the country, bringing to 58 the number of corpses linked to the movement. According to authorities, currently the search was continuing not just for more bodies, but also for survivors of the cult. An 800-acre area of forest at Shakahola near Malindi has been sealed off for the search operation, where it was believed that some of the members of the cult were still hiding. It was previously reported that police launched their operation after the first body was discovered last week. The death toll, which has repeatedly risen as exhumations were carried out, is expected to rise further. So far, the dead, including 50 people found in mass graves, as well as 8 who were found alive and emaciated, but later died. Following the discovery, police arrested the movement's leader, Mackenzie Natenge, from the Good News International Church, who reportedly told followers to starve themselves in order to meet Jesus. China and Singapore will hold a joint military exercise this week, their first combined drills since 2021, as Beijing deepens its defense and security ties with Southeast Asia, a region with strong existing U.S. alliances. In a statement on Monday, the Chinese Defense Ministry said that the Chinese Navy will dispatch its frigate Yulin, as well as the Chibi minesweeper for the drills, which will take place around Singapore from end April to early May. The two countries agreed last year to hold the drills at a meeting of defense ministers, though details were not announced at that time. The deeper China-Singapore military cooperation comes at a time of heightened tensions in the South China Sea, an area spanning 3.5 million square kilometers that is often traversed by Western navies, including U.S. vessels conducting freedom of navigation operations. Meanwhile, Australia has launched its biggest defense overhaul in decades, vowing to turn a military that is no longer fit for purpose into a fighting force that could deter China or any would-be foe. Defense Minister Richard Marles on Monday unveiled a strategic review that called for a sharp shift toward long-range deterrence, using missiles, submarines and cyber tools to keep adversaries at arm's length. Describing China's military buildup as the largest and most ambitious of any country since World War II, the review warns the risk of military escalation or rising miscalculation. Australian planners have viewed China's military rise warily, fearing Beijing's now vast capabilities could effectively cut Australia off from trading partners and global supply chains. In response to that threat, Australia's military is expected to develop the ability to strike from air, land and sea, as well as strengthen its northern bases and recruit more troops. In Germany, environmental activists blocked dozens of streets in Berlin on Monday to protest the country's climate policy, causing widespread transport disruption in the capital. Campaigners halted traffic across the city by gluing themselves to the street surface, including on the busy motorway A100. According to authorities, around 500 officers had been deployed to tackle and prevent the protests. The country's transport information, in the meantime, has warned commuters about the transport disruption as activists massively expand their protests on Monday morning. sports, Manchester United set up an FA Cup final against neighbours Manchester City with a dramatic penalty shootout victory over Brighton and Hove Albion on Sunday at Wembley. After 120 goalless minutes and 6 successful penalties each in the shootout, Solly March missed Brighton's 7th kick before Victor Lindelof stepped up to score. It means the two Manchester rivals will face off for the first time in the final of an FA Cup on June 3rd, giving Man United the chance to possibly stop Man City completing the treble, a feat achieved only once before in England by Man United in 1999. On to Bundesliga now. RB Leipzig slipped out of the Bundesliga top 4 on Sunday after losing 2-0 to Bayer Leverkusen. Just 3 days after they booked their place in the semi-finals of the Europa League, Leverkusen's attack was fairly limited, but they made the most of their chances when they came. Piero Hincapi hit the crossbar early on before Adam Holzek gave them a 1-0 lead with 40 minutes played. A crude challenge on Jeremy Frimpong in the box saw Dominik Szoboszlai shown a red card for his second bookable offence, and Nadim Amiri duly slotted home from the penalty spot to close out the 2-0 Leverkusen win. They now sit 6th in the table, 4 points behind Leipzig, who are 5th. Still on football, Feyenoord took a step closer to their 16th Dutch league title after a comfortable 3-1 win over FC Utrecht on Sunday. Arne Slot's side bounced back from their 4-1 Europa League defeat to Roma to completely dominate for their 10th consecutive Eredivisie victory. Sebastian Szymanski and Santiago Tomas Gimenez gave the home side a 2-0 lead before Mexico's Alreza Jahanbash added a third with his 6th goal in 6 successive games. Although Bastos pulled one back for Jurek, Slot's side controlled the match and can win the title next weekend if they beat Excelsior and PSV drop points. Feyenoord topped the Eredivisie with 73 points, 8 ahead of second place PSV Eindhoven. Still to come, police investigates man brandishing wooden sticks at motorcyclists. Stay tuned. In Terengganu, police have opened an investigation paper over the actions of a man brandishing wooden sticks to drive away a group of motorcyclists, which caused a commotion in Kemaman on Saturday. Kemaman District Police Chief Superintendent Hanyan Ramlan said the investigation was carried out after a 26-second video clip on social media went viral. According to initial probe, the incident happened at the traffic light intersection in Jalan Kuala Terengganu, Kuantan, near Galiga. In the video, the man was seen to be standing at the side of the road holding two sticks to stop motorcyclists from passing through the area. It is believed that he was upset with the presence of the motorcyclists who were engaging in illegal racing activities. There were no further complications as the motorcyclists fled as soon as they saw the man swinging his wooden sticks. Following the incident, the public is advised not to take the law into their own hands to avoid anything untoward from happening. The case is being investigated under the Road Transport Act 1987 for reckless and inconsiderate driving and a penal code for criminal intimidation. As Nightline draws to a close this time around, let's take a look as Rome presented its bid to host Expo 2030, the World Fair, that is, with hypnotic drone show Human Lands over the Colosseum. The multimedia show of video mapping featured 500 drones that flew over the Colosseum, shaping examples of Italy's cultural heritage like Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, geometries, abstractions, and light games. With that, I'm Raymond Go. Thank you for your company and be well, Malaysia.